Hi everyone, it's Ren here. Hope you're doing well, guys. Welcome to my room. Today we're going to talk about a character that's perhaps the greatest INFJ character on television. You might remember that I released a video a few months back about the greatest INFJ character in fiction, and I focused on the character of Prince Mishkin in Dostoevsky's novel The Idiot. So you could consider that that was the best character or best INFJ character in literary fiction and book fiction. But today we're going to talk about TV. Now, before I move on, let me remind you that I've written a book on the INFJ type, The Ecstatic Soul. It's a lovely book. Just look at this. It's a very nice product. The deepest investigation of the INFJ you'll find online. So if you're looking for new knowledge on this type, this is the place to go. All the links available down below in the description box to all the Amazon websites. Less than $10, ebook and paperback format. Any questions about anything, just drop me a line and I will get back to you. So, who is, in my estimate, the best character on television with an INFJ personality? Well, the answer is Dale Cooper from the show Twin Peaks. I mentioned Dale Cooper many times in different videos, but I never actually made a video specifically on him. Now, he's the main character of the show Twin Peaks, created by David Lynch, a show that is pretty well known these days. It's possible that most people in my audience will have heard of it and perhaps even seen it. I mean, it's a show that's notorious for having a strange but weirdly, binge-worthy first season, and maybe the first half or first third of the second season. And then it got really strange and weird and hard to follow, and there's a lot of people who gave up at that point. Now, there's a third season as well that came out many years later, only a few years ago, in fact. I've actually not seen that yet. I'm sort of keeping it for some reason. I don't want to spoil the pleasure too quickly. I know that it's been liked by the press, by the critics. I think that the audience is a little bit more divided on it because, again, it's extremely strange and abstract. I mean, that's what I've heard. I've not made a decision yet. So my assessments of Dale Cooper will be based on the original Twin Peaks seasons, season 1 and 2. So first, we might consider why is it safe to say that he's an INFJ and not another type? Well, I think it's a relatively straightforward process about Dale Cooper, and that's kind of what's amazing about it as well, is because he's an INFJ character that's easy to identify as an INFJ, while at the same time not falling into some of the stereotypes that we come across in the realm of fictional INFJs. I complain from time to time that fictional INFJs are often represented as stereotypes, the stereotype of the prophet or the seer, the wise man, the wise woman, anything like that, the upright moral hero. Not that these, are not possibilities for genuine INFJ existence, but they're really not in the majority. Most of the time, what INFJs are like, it's pretty much this. It's intuitive, slightly quirky, introverts with original creative visions that can come across as a little bit clumsy but are warm. Now, that's a perfect description of Dale Cooper, and that's why, even at this very intuitive level, not relying specifically on instances where he's using particular functions, we can identify that he is indeed an INFJ. Now, regarding whether he's extroverted or introverted, I just think that his introversion is quite clear. He doesn't behave like an extrovert would. He spends a lot of time inside his own head. This is something that you can particularly see in season 2, but he doesn't have this domineering approach to negotiating social interactions. So that's another instance, for example, as opposed to, say, him being an ENFJ type. Now, he's not a particularly introverted introvert, but neither is the INFJ in general. There are some INFJs who are very introverted, but by and large, if you take an average, An INFJ would probably be about 60% introverted and 40% extroverted. So really, you're talking about just being slightly introverted. The only introvert who might be a bit more extroverted on average is probably ISFJ due to the SI dominance and the implicit respect of hierarchy and order that comes with that function. But really, INFJs tend to be relatively extroverted introverts. So it's absolutely fine if Dale Cooper comes across as that. That's what an INFJ, a typical INFJ, is supposed to come across as. But you'll notice that even though Dale Cooper is relatively extroverted for an introvert, he has many traits of an introvert. And I would say many traits of an introverted end user. So we're already talking about 4 possible types, IN. And why do I say this? Well, because you'll notice that even his manifestations of what you call extroversion, when he's interacting and playing around with other people, when he's interacting with them, when he is reaching out to them to thank them for something or to suggest an idea or a lead he has about a particular character or a suspect as part of his investigation, there's always something that's very slightly off. And I think it's really David Lynch's genius to have created a character like this. And also, Kyle MacLachlan's talent as an actor to really convey this. You can really sense that David Lynch had created a fairly unusual character, probably because the typical INFJ is an unusual type for a person to have. And Kyle MacLachlan really understood what David Lynch wanted. You can really see that behind the character of Dale Cooper, there was a very close, focused, and well-coordinated partnership between the director and the actor in order to achieve a character whose offness, slightly off-kilter behavior is completely seen to be an organic extension of his warmth. So when he has these moments, for example, there's a scene, you might remember it, where he's talking to Harry Truman, I believe is the local police officer, chief of police. And they have this conversation, and just out of the blue, Dale Cooper just goes like this, picks his nose, like Harry Truman's nose. He goes like, Proop. And it's obviously some idea that David Lynch had. It's very weird, but at the same time, it only makes Dale Cooper more reliable and warmer. So it is this amazing combination of quirkiness and warmth that makes Dale Cooper so unique and charismatic, but also such an INFJ. Now, there's also the whole theme of his visions, of his dreams, of the symbolic, particularly the straightforwardly symbolic nature of his intuitions, which really, really oozes an introverted intuition, and suffices probably as an argument for him being a dominant introverted intuitive. And you'll notice that even though he has these intuitions, he's not capable of translating them across to other people that easily. It proceeds and he really sticks to his visions and he carries them through. But it's not necessarily the language that he has to speak to people that he has to work with when he's working in Twin Peaks on the investigation into the murder of Laura Palmer. So there's a certain loneliness that he feels and accepts completely when it comes to the really original content of his visions. He has to follow them, but he also knows that he has to be somewhat alone in following them. But he transcends that by managing to reinterpret them in such a content that he's able to share his work with other people and create a process of cooperation in the town where people can work together to solve this particular crime. And he's cooperating and collaborating not just with the police, but also with other characters who take a liking to him, partly because he's charismatic, kind-hearted, and such a fiercely original man, a brilliant man by many standards. Now, that's very closely connected to what I call the enlightened INFJ in this book. The de-alien INFJ who takes his vision as a vocation, who does this better than Dale Cooper, who moves from what you might call haziness to clarity and going out and reaching out to people, even though he knows deep down that the true, original purest content of his intuitions, as shown in many scenes in the show, is something that he'll have to keep to himself. He accepts that. That does not make him cynical. He's very much a non-cynical man. Just notice this. It's also partly why he's so likable. And as a result, he comes across as someone who is pretty happy. Not to say that he's happy about everything and that he's not tortured. That would be untrue. But you wouldn't say that Dale Cooper is a sad, pathetic, tragic, depressed figure. There's a level of playfulness between him, his visions, and the outside world that he honors with a great amount of dignity and always warmth. You know, he's a well-meaning, strange, but somehow irresistible man. And I say this as a straight man, actually. Like he's a, you know, if I wasn't straight, I think Dale Cooper would be right up there on the list. And I think that, you know, that's kind of all I wanted to say really on the topic of Dale Cooper, is that he is such a potent mix of the best possible INFJ attributes that are the best, not just because, you know, they are fictionally rendered so as to be captivating, but because they are so clearly healthy. Dale is a healthy man. And it's amazing to have a show where David Lynch portrays, by some accounts, a slightly odd man who has very odd visions and follows very odd intuitions, and yet is undeniably behaviorally in every possible sense healthy. To be cryptic and odd with your NI and yet to be healthy, that is the equation that can be achieved, and Dale Cooper shows it for us. Let me know in the comments what you think. Give me a like and consider subscribing. And I'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye.